Hello, welcome to the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. I'm Jared, and with me as always is Holly. Today we're doing a review of License to Grill. I know that's a play on James Bond License to Kill, and this is very much all about puns as you play because the cards that you see have really funny descriptions that are all basic dad jokes about
Yeah.
all the food that you're going to cook. But what is this game? This is a polyomino placing game about trying to score the most points by properly seasoning and saucing and grilling and otherwise preparing food at a cookout. The idea here is there is only one grill and it's only so big, and everybody's got to get their food out on the grill and cook it at the right temperature, and get it off again before it burns and that sort of stuff.
Then on the table.
Yes. And there's like these different phases, right, that very well imitate to me, like getting food made.
Pretty spot on.
I mean, you have to like get it, you have to collect the recipe, which then you take the polyomino and put it on like the left half of your board, which is, your preparation phase. Then while it sits there, you have to kind of prep it a little bit. Sometimes it allows you to season it, and that basically adds cubes onto the recipe's card, giving you some more points. And again, none of these points are going to score unless it finally makes it to the table, which is a literal tablecloth. Very thematic to what you're doing here. It's great. But from the planning area, then you have to take an action to place it on the grill. And there's the left half, which is meant for only meats, and then the right half meant only for vegetables. And then there's some like soups and like pot pies and things that are like kind of this yellow color recipe that they can go on either side or even straddle the line.
And behind that, you have the warming.
Exactly. At the top half of that grill is the warming plate or warming area, which essentially does the same thing. It's not like a warming grill. It's like it actually cooks your food
Just slower.
just slower. and I think it tends to be, depending on your recipe, better place for a lot of foods, but the size of that
area is very limited.
Is so tiny, and you're not allowed to have, one square go over the line,
And by the time you realize that the warming area is the place to be, there's no more room.
Yeah. And that's really,
you're welcome.
Really part of the funny strategy to this, because there's a little bit of a passive aggressive take that mechanism in this game, where, for example, every piece that you get, right, is going to be a various shape or various number of squares. And there is even a piece of garlic that I got that was a 1x1, just a single square. And I put it on the warming area, but I put it in a way that no other big piece could really go there now because they're not allowed to move my piece. So it became a big problem for everybody because they kept waiting for me to take it off the grill. And, you can't make someone take it off the grill. Instead, you can only turn the heat up by adding something onto the grill.
And hopefully burn their food.
And maybe burn it. So that placement aspect of like, if I place this in a way that's only benefiting me, it's going to hurt a lot of people getting their food out on the grill. It's just funny to see everyone's reactions when that happens. But the other thing is, certainly when you add stuff, you can turn the heat up, and if maybe you can char their food a little bit past beyond where the sweet spot is, because essentially you want it to sit on there so that when the start of your turn happens, whatever the current heat level is, you add that much heat to your recipe card, or the cube moves up. And if it's in a good spot where, the points are still good for you, then you definitely want to take it off.
Much like real cooking, you don't want to overcook it.
Absolutely. I mean, right. And if it's too long, sometimes the points start going down. And then ultimately, if it's way too long, there's like always a point where it'll get discarded. It turns into trash. And so in each of these different steps, whether it be the preparation or the grill or back to your, what was the right half called?
The rest area.
The resting area. Every area has a certain number of time that each dish is allowed to sit there before it is going to become trash. And that's really where the pressure of when can I get this off safely? When can I move this safely? Before I've run out of time and I literally just have to trash this. And that's happened to me before. We played it a number of times, and if you don't keep an eye on where everything is and how many actions you have to actually make this work, that's where you're going to get into trouble. The real trick here is you only have 2 actions a turn, and it just goes around the table. And anytime someone adds something to the grill, they can adjust the heat, whether they turn it up or down. And it's a really fun dynamic to see how everyone's turn tends to affect you.
Yeah.
But you don't really know how it's going to turn out until it gets to your turn again. Because the person that goes right before you could fix it. You know, they might change it back to some, heat that works better for most of your stuff. Or they might remove something that was in the way. So now your whole turn opens up and you go, oh, well, now that that's gone, I can now move this somewhere out there, or I could get this new recipe on the table and put it out there. But you have to be quick about it because, again, you have 2 actions. And just taking a recipe, that's an action. Putting it on the grill, that's an action. Taking it off. So every little thing, every step that you have to do costs one of those 2 actions.
Seasoning, saucing.
Yes.
Putting it on the table.
That's right. And while it's on the grill, you can take a special action to add a cube to sauce a particular recipe if that card allows you a spot for a cube there. So you're trying to maximize points, you're trying to be efficient, and everyone else is working against you. It's like cooking out in the backyard with a large group of people.
I think my favorite part thematically, besides the tablecloth, is the beer caps and beer tabs, like Dad's grilling out in the backyard and that he's collecting those for points.
Yep. and that's what you do. You collect points based on how well your recipe did when it's presented to the table. And the single point tokens are like the aluminum can caps that you would pop off, and then the 5-point tokens are like glass bottle caps, from the beer bottles. So it's very cool. From a culinary perspective, someone who cooks a lot, how accurate was this game?
I mean, it's pretty spot on. You have to take your food out, and you have a very limited amount of time that you can prepare it. Some things longer than others. You have to season it while you're letting it set out, absorb those spices, and then you put it on the grill on a certain heat. Pray that someone else doesn't burn it for you. You sauce it while it's on the grill, take it off.
So all that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty, and even the resting and you know what? For some people, placement on the table is even important. So that's pretty spot on too.
And the table itself is also a grid where you're going to place the polyominoes, and there's no real rule to where it can or can't go. But there are special icons on that tablecloth that are extra actions. So if you are able to, to place one of your completed dishes on one or more icons, then you immediately get to take some extra actions, and that could be a way to really maximize your turn. So really learning that aspect of the game and timing everything is going to be, how you're going to get better at this game. We brought it with us to a convention recently, and we played it many times at the convention, and everyone always was laughing, having a good time. It's cute, it's funny, and competitive, but not too mean. Like sometimes, like I say, it's passive aggressively mean.
Yeah. It's not directly like.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you need that to not be so hot? Well, I'm cooking this, and it needs to go up pretty fast. So maybe someone will bring it down by the time it gets back to you. But it plays 3 to 5 players, and it plays pretty fast. I'd say 30, 40 minutes or so.
And we played with a lot of players.
And like I said, everyone had a good time. Everyone enjoyed this. And I think it's, it's going to be a great gateway game to polyomino type placement games for people who haven't, seen a polyomino since Tetris. So I think the theme really grabs you and how closely it aligns to what you're really trying to do thematically. I think it plays really well. It's cute. Artwork's nice. Definitely one we're going to keep on the shelf and bring out, for any gathering, really.
I enjoy it. It's good.
It's a lot of fun. So if that sounded like a good time to you and you like polyomino games, this is definitely a winner to try out and or pick up for yourself. So License to Grill. This has been our review. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Jared.
I'm Holly.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.